Now, 11 people have been confirmed dead on the R102 in Lotus Park in Isipingo in KwaZulu-Natal after a truck collided with a taxi minibus. Currently, it's not known what led to the crash, but our Silethiwe Ndlovu is at the scene. Silethiwe, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. What do we know about this accident?
Well, it's as you've rightfully indicated, Thabo. The information that we've received is that indeed 11 people have unfortunately lost their lives this morning, 11 of them. And this is when a minibus taxi collided with a truck. Now, we are told that at this particular moment, it's not known what actually led to the particular incident, but we are told that it took place in the early hours of this morning. Several people have been injured. We understand, of course, that 7 of those people that were injured have now been taken to hospital. And as you can see at this particular point, those that unfortunately lost their lives this morning have also been removed from the scene. At this particular point, what is currently happening, they are then removing this particular taxi that was involved in the accident. And also the cleanup operation is also currently happening. Just a short while ago, we saw a number of teams that had gathered to assist here, including the eThekwini Fire Department, as of course at some point we do understand that the driver of the minibus taxi was still entrapped, and this is now just a couple of hours ago. From the information that we received from ALS paramedics, they did indicate that it took quite a bit of time, unfortunately, to retrieve that driver of the minibus taxi, whom at this point we understand is fortunately alive. Thabo still alive at this point. He was taken to hospital. The indication that we also received a while ago was that the driver of the truck is also alive and was also taken away a short while ago. But we understand that he sustained no injuries at all. So at this particular point, as you can see, they are then just still trying to clean up the area and also just to remove some of the personal belongings of those people that unfortunately lost their lives in the early hours of this morning. But the unfortunate part, from what we understand from speaking to various departments, and this is now including the Department of Transport, we understand that the minibus taxi had an overload. We're told that instead of having 14, 15 people inside, the minibus taxi actually had 17 to 18 people. Thus that number of 11 people deceased and 7 of them, or rather 7 others, being taken to hospital. So the department has once again reminded minibus taxi drivers not to break the rules of the road. But at this point, it's also not clear in terms of whether this particular taxi left the rank with an overload or whether those extra people were actually collected along the route. Of course, these were local people that were coming from this area, including the minibus taxi itself. We understand that it is also a local taxi. I'm going to bring in now Kolani Makanya, who's going to speak to us. Firstly, I want to just get into that major concern. When you hear that the minibus taxi had an overload, mhlambe nje ukhuluma ngokukhathazeka kwenu menizwa lokho.
Kona kuyasikhathaza because sine program vele ekhona yokulekelela embonini, especially la kuNingizimu 1 la sisebenza khona, whereby kuno rank marshals abakhona ema rank. Labo rank marshal benza sure ukuthi imoto iphuma nenamba yabantu efanele baphume ngayo abawu-15 plus no driver ka-16 emotweni. But it happens kwesinye isikhathi ukuthi ngoba sikwi-local area mhlambe babamba benza ama-pick and drop esikutholayo, whereby ugcina sebethatha abantu babe overload. But thina sisuke sikulwisa lokho as imboni ukuthi babe ne-overload, because sinayo uhlelo lwe-operation esemisana nohlokomela, whereby every day baba semgaqweni ukubhekelela i-operation yemboni i-mainstream, including ne-scholar transport, whereby izinto njengama-overload ziyabhekwa kukhishwa amabhakede emotweni, they are being charged futhi for ama-overload, kanjalo ku-checkwa ama-license abo ukuthi ngabe anayo yini i-PDP, valid, even nama-disk emoto. So senza i-thorough check every day, because obaba laba sobe semgaqweni basuke bezokwenza lo msebenzi. We even went further, sakwazi ukuthi each association abe nemoto emelene nalezo zinto. So we have ama-vehicles awu-13 plus 2 oqhamuka kaHlokomela, shuthi sinemoto eziwu-15 kule region ezenza lo msebenzi each and every day ovuka ekuseni. Even in December besingavalile thina, besisebenza in December silungisa into ye-scholar transport, and we even on January before vula iy'kole sibize zonke imoto e-operator ngaphansi kwe-scholar transport la. Unfortunately khona ezinye engazanga ngoba bezazi ukuthi vele ngeke ziphase uma ziza kuthina ngoba ngeke siyivumele isebenze. So ayibisakwazi ukusebenza uma ingadlulanga kwi-inspection esenza la ku-region. So siyakukhathalela ukuphepha kwabagibeli bethu nabafundi bethu, ngakho nathi siyakhalisana nemndeni, and kubuhlungu into ye-overload asamsani nayo, but okunye kusiphatha kabuhlungu-ke nesike sikubone, even bona abagibeli ayibona imoto igcwele kodwa still afuna umpintshe emotweni angene. So leyo nto thina si-against yona kakhulu, but nabo abagibeli bethu abasilekelele phela. Imoto uma isigcwele igcwele, angathi imoto uma igcwele naye athi ngoba ujahile uyampintsha, ngoba uma sekunezimo ey'kanje kuba nzima, kuba buhlungu. But thina ngokwazi kwethu uma iphuma imoto erenk iphuma inesibalo esiqondile sabantu abawu-15.
Lapho nje ekugcineni ungena kumbuzo wami olandelayo owokuthi noma singeke saqinisekisa ngoba besingekho khona ekuseni ne-Department of Transport ithi isazokwenza ama-investigations, ikhulume nama-Q marshals, kodwa nina ngokusho kwenu as iNingizimu 1 region anibona ukuthi itekisi iphume ine-overload erenki, kungenzeka ukuthi mhlambe uhambe wacosha abantu endleleni?
Yebo, lokho singaqinisisa ngoba ngeke ngakhuluma nabakhona kulo association, but imoto uma iphuma kubona ku-association wabo erenk iphuma inesibalo because kuno-rank marshals osuke khona. Then uma esephumile usuke engasekho rank marshals, sekuganga kadriver esefuna ukuyizamela imali yakhe, because kwabanye association imali iyasala, udriver angabi nayo access yakhona. So uma esehamba endleleni usuke esenza ama-overload obese eyiphantela imali yakhe, of which lokho kugcina sekulimaza-ke igama le-industry no-association ye-region kanjalo.
That's Xolani Makhanya. He's from Santako, Ningizimu 1 region, speaking to us there about that point that came from the Department of Transport, where they stated that this particular taxi had an overload of 17 or 18 people when it should have actually had around 14, 15 people. But coming from this conversation, Xolani states that from his understanding, it doesn't seem as if the taxi left the rank with an overload, and that there's a possibility that some of those people that were, extra passengers were actually collected along the road. But at this particular point, the department states that they are going to continue with those investigations, as of course, there's no telling at this point what actually led to the accident that took place in the early hours of this morning. They haven't stated that the minibus taxi was in the wrong. The only confirmation that we have at this point is that it was a collision that took place in the early hours of this morning between a minibus taxi that had an overload and a truck.
Silethiwe, much appreciated. That is Silethiwe Ndlovu for us live at the R102 in Lotus Park in Isipingo in KwaZulu-Natal. That's where that accident would have taken place. 11 lives coming to their demise, while 7 others have been admitted in hospital.